So first I'll cover those parameters on which India is going down. Unfortunately, when it comes to analyzing our economic prosperity, economic growth or lack of it, whatever, we become very polarized. We are either pro-India or we are like that everything is going down. So I'll try to cover both parts. So first I'll cover those parameters on which India is going down. So this is one parameter, and I think no other parameters covers the great Indian story as good as this one parameter covers. Our rank in global GDP is going down. We were 13th in GDP ranking globally in the year 1990. So we had our liberalization after that. So we always put liberalization as a very good event to be celebrated. But ideally we should be looking and introspecting why it happened so late. Why did we have Inspector Raj? Why did we have License Raj? But anyhow, better late than never. So post that, from 13th we moved to 10 in 2012. So it took us 22 years to jump 3 ranks, and in next 12 years we jumped from 10 to 5. So I'm very emotional about our country. I will appreciate if we can celebrate this occasion as a very good grand occasion for us as a country, and we can clap for this great India. Right now we are in 5th, and in next 5 years we will be in top 3. So America, China and India, certainly the difference between India and China and America is very huge, and it will be another jump that we will have to take. But still, being in top 3 globally within say 100 years of being independent is a big achievement, and we all should be proud of it. There is no curse which is as big as poverty. So if you don't have money, you can't do even your religious work properly. And a large part of our population had been suffering from this curse for a very long time. Thankfully now we are going down on this parameter as well. But more than looking at poverty from one dimension of income only, let's look at poverty from multidimensional parameters like access to health, education, etc. Over there also we have made rapid strides. So while there were 55% people suffering from multidimensional poverty, we have come down to around 12% in 22-23. Again a big achievement. So these are the parameters on which India is going down. Unemployment. As per World Bank, so we have not taken Indian government data because then again people become very polarized on the same. As per World Bank, this is how Indian unemployment is going down. Certainly we had a spike in 2020 because of Corona, but since then our unemployment rates are coming down drastically. More than half of our population was illiterate 35 years back. More than half of our population. And you can't expect any growth unless your population is educated. From that level, our illiteracy rate has down to 23%. And so even this 23% is mostly those 52% people who were illiterate in 91. So right now we have got almost 100% school enrollment, almost universal school enrollment. So even the absolute number of illiterate people, not only percentage, absolute number of illiterate people is going down year on year. Fiscal deficit. So there have been 2 times recently when Indian governments raised the fiscal deficit beyond a good number, beyond the manageable numbers. One was in 2008 and other was very recent 2020 because of Corona crisis. But since then our fiscal deficit is coming down drastically on a regular basis. Again a big achievement. So right now it's 5.6% and government projection is it will come down to 4.4% by financial year 26 within next 2 years. Dependency ratio. So when it comes to workforce, how many of people are working and how many people are dependent on working people, that ratio will be 30% only in 2050. So we always keep cursing population growth, but sometimes it has got positive side also. If we have more younger population. And I always believe that all the world capital move towards those countries which have got younger population to work for. And even if that country is not working towards that direction, that capital will force them to work towards that direction. There was one time when our ease of doing business come down from 151 to 144, and it was a huge achievement. There was a lot of hype that we have achieved such improvement, but now it's down to 63 as per the last ranking which came in 2020. So from almost 150, we are down to 63 in ease of doing business given by UN. Now let's look at those parameters where India is going up. And again, there is one saying low base effect. So certainly we have got a long journey to undertake, but we certainly is on the path to that journey. And as Indians, we should be proud that we are making rapid strides. I know certainly people started making comparisons with China, with Southeast Asia, but there are many achievements on which we can feel proud. GDP in billion consistently going down, except for minor hiccups like Corona, etc. This is very interesting slide. So there was a report by American professor, I missed including that report over here. Before Mughal era, India's contribution to world GDP was around 27-28%. By the time Mughal era ended, it was down to 14-15%. By the time British era ended, it was down to 5-6%. The worst part was that even after 1947, our contribution to world GDP was going down. Even when we had so-called independence, even when we were ruling ourselves, we were not growing as fast as world was growing. So that's why our contribution to world GDP in 1960, like 60 years back only, was 3%. And now we are inching towards that number post 1990. From 1960 to 1990, it was going down only. GDP per capita by 2031, in next 5 years, we will be in middle income economy, if we take today's definition of middle income economy. And the good thing is we have jumped 2-3 stages of income levels as per IMF within last 20-30 years. This is another very steep curve which shows you how our GDP per capita. So as a country, so my father used to tell me when I was a kid, India is a rich country, but its people are poor. But now even our citizens are becoming richer. So our GDP per capita is growing rapidly since 2005. This is exports. I'll show you some more numbers in coming slides when we talk about PLI and Make in India. But again, our exports are also going up. Certainly, we would like them to be even faster, the pace to be faster. But again, consistent growth. India's export as percentage of global exports. So, हम तो बढ़ रहे हैं, but are we, growing at the pace at which world is growing? Our contribution to global trade has increased from 1.5% to 3% within last 20 years. Life expectancy. So our life expectancy was only 38, now it's 71. When it comes to internet, for us it may be luxury, but for a lot of our bottom of the pyramid people, it's requirement. So for a Ola driver, for a Uber driver, when he has access to cheap internet, he can be part of the new age economy. Otherwise, he will remain limited to Kali Pili taxis. So that access to cheap internet is not only helping to grow new ideas, new startups, it's also helping a lot of our bottom of the pyramid or middle of the pyramid to have access to information and to new economy. One of the biggest entry barriers for anybody, I come from a very small town in UP, so I can vouch for it, and many of us come from very, such kind of backgrounds. One of the biggest entry barriers that we used to have in India was information arbitrage. With the advent of internet and access to internet at a very cheap price, that arbitrage, that entry barrier is coming down. Now this is something which we should be very proud about. So I'll show you in further slides how FIIs are taking out money consistently, but even those times our market was either going up or it was not going down as much as it used to. All because of this very strong SIP book. So Nirmala Sitharaman made a statement in the parliament where he mentioned the contribution of SIP warriors in fighting the outflow of FII's money. These are some of the numbers which shows that in last 4-5 years how FII money has moved in or out and how that has been countered by local money and what kind of effect it had on market returns. So if you look into 2022, there was almost 3 lakh crore worth of money taken out by FIIs from Indian markets. But almost similar amount of money was put in by DIIs, domestic institutional investors. Who comes in DIIs? A very proud part of our economy, AMCs, mutual fund industry, EPFO. So all the money that goes into employee provident fund, 5% of that incremental money is being moved to markets. NPS, a lot of NPS money is also going into the market. So these three pillars, SIP, NPS and EPFO is what counting FII outflow. So if you look at this chart, this shows us month on month inflow and outflow of FII money and DII money. We can see virtually all the money that has been taken away by FIIs has been replaced by DII money. Now I'll show you some of the government interventions of last decade which has helped us to grow, which has helped us to fight corona crisis, which has helped us to grow at this pace. And when I show you the kind of companies that went into NCLTs, they were the companies who used to rule the Indian industry, who were the leading players. The power of NCLT was so strong that most of them got auctioned under NCLT. When NCLT was introduced, top 20 defaulters of India were made a part of the list, and all of them went through a time-bound process which helped us to bring this gross NPA number down. Before NCLT, the recovery mechanism was SARFAESI, and the recovery rate in SARFAESI was around 14% in addition to evergreening. So evergreening is the process where a further loan is given to pay interest on your old loans. So this practice was very prevalent by Indian PSU banks, where they will give you new loans so that you can pay back interest on previous loan. In spite of that practice, only 14% was the recovery rate under SARFAESI. That is now around 40% under NCLT. Recently, its number has come down, but in initial years, it was giving recovery rate of 45-50%. That too in a very time-bound manner, in a very transparent manner. These are some of the companies which became part of NCLT initially. We have covered name of the companies, total debt, then resolution amount and haircut and the acquirer. I won't take you through this in detail. We'll anyhow be distributing hard copy of this presentation to all of you. Startups. I count there has been 4 phases of Indian industry. One was Tata Birla Goenka stage, where after independence some groups became very big in manufacturing. They controlled almost all the manufacturing of India. Because during license hours they had access to government and they could get their work done. Nobody was able to challenge those houses because it included not only huge requirement of capital, but it also required a lot of access to government and bureaucracy. Second phase was nationalization of banks. The third was emergence of Indian IT industry in 90s and early 2000s. And now we are witnessing the 4th phase of Indian industry rise, which is startups. So they are breaking all the glass ceilings. So you can see kids in early 20s and 30s. I hope I can afford calling them kids because I am in late 30s now. So people wearing knickers will be millionaires, will be owners of companies whose values are $1 billion valuation, something which introduced into top 500 in listed space also. So number of recognized startups, of which Wealthy Nivesh is also one of the recognized startups as per Government of India, is 128,000 in 2024. So it has grown by more than 15 times in last 6 years. Number of unicorns. Unicorns is companies with valuation of $1 billion is 120 now. And almost all of these companies are promoted by first generation entrepreneurs. Just think of it how we are breaking entry barriers. People come from small towns, from big cities, from every kind of social background. They come to institutes. Some of them doesn't even come to premium institutes. Then they build their businesses and they become owners of billion dollar valuation companies. Just think of the kind of radical shift, tectonic shift that we are witnessing right now. This is another very interesting scheme, PLI scheme, Production Linked Incentive Scheme. So what government did, government brought 2-3 steps. One was import substitution, which is very typical. where they increase import duties on certain components. Then they introduced PLI, where they gave certain subsidies provided you achieve some given targets of manufacturing and billing as well. So these are some of the outlays which are expected in, which has been committed by government in many sectors. Government tells ki, so what government does, they try to give a kind of stimulus to industry, but only if they achieve certain targets. When they roll out PLI scheme, they tell you that if you achieve these many numbers, then we will give you this much subsidy, post achievement of those targets. So it's nothing like subsidies giving at the advent itself, it is performance linked. So corporates mein one of the biggest headache is performance linked incentive. They are implementing in corporates, in production as well. It has resulted into huge amount of export in electronics. It has resulted into employment generation. This is something that shows the performance of Indian manufacturing, Make in India and PLI in a very strong manner. So right now we are exporting around $15 billion worth of mobile phones. So from being net importers of mobile phone, we are now net exporter, that too by a huge number. Mobile phone production in India is 4100 billion. So I am not going very far, but even if we go into 2017, in 2017 we were net importer of mobile phones, and now in 27 we will be exporting mobile phones of $76 billion. $76 billion will be around 2% of Indian GDP. These are the production forecasts for different industries, which again will be around 3% of total Indian GDP. This is India's electronic exports. In 2022, we exported $25 billion worth of electronics. $25 billion. The most shining example of technology manufacturing in mass segment is iPhone. And one of the most inspiring personalities of modern century has been Steve Jobs. And Steve Jobs once claimed that I can't move out my production assembly from China because there are so many interlinkages. India has been able to move out iPhone manufacturing out of China. So we have proven Steve Jobs wrong. Our contribution to global shipments of iPhone is 10% now, expected to be 1/4 in next 2-3 years only. And the best part is there was another misconception or myth that only Taiwanese players like Foxconn etc. can do this. But now Tata is buying out those players' Indian facilities, and they are saying that we will manufacture for iPhone, we will manufacture for Apple. So there was one time when one politician made a joke in the parliament, do you expect poor people to make digital payments? And now we have those times when people are taking arms. Arms by mean कि जो हमारे यहाँ साधु संत वगैरह आते हैं, they are taking donation through UPI. UPI is being introduced in number of countries. So we should be so proud. When I was in Dubai, I was told in 60s and 70s, Indian rupee was the currency of circulation currency in Middle East, and from there we lost all our gold over there. Now UAE will be having UPI payments. They are implementing UPI payments, so now we are exporting such mass technology out of India. And even if we look in India, the number of transactions which are happening by UPI are number of types of transactions which is happening by global monopoly, duopoly of MasterCard and Visa. Recently we got some discounts on income tax in the budget, and that has been made possible only because our indirect tax collections have grown very well. So our indirect tax collection has grown to 4 times in the last 10 years, all thanks to GST. Even for planning this event, GST was a major component because we had to ensure that it is paid very well and we can claim GST component. So GST has become a very indistinguishable part of our economy, and it is helping us in organizing businesses, in making businesses organized. and also in bringing as more and more players in the tax radar. I know when GST was introduced, the bigger the issue that many MSME players cited was that we will come under the advent of income tax. That was also one of the unsaid objectives of GST. So thanks for being such a good audience for listening to the PPT, and let me thank the team which made this PPT. Jinal played the pivotal part, assisted by Utsav and Shrihan, and designing part. Thank you.